Chozo and Todo, on the other hand, are bloodlusted, because where is Yuji? And there's one major problem for Kenjaku's side. Sukuna is still only at 19 fingers, and only Gojo knows where the last one is. In the main story, they compensated by having Sukuna eat his own mummy, but that option doesn't exist here. Because while Kenjaku and Mahito were able to start the culling game using idle transfiguration on Tengen's barrier, the barrier itself has not been broken yet, meaning Kenjaku hasn't been able to retrieve the mummy from Tengen. So wait, does that mean Gojo, who's actually stronger this time thanks to his memories, is going to fight a weaker version of Sukuna in the final battle? When everything's set in motion, Yuji's unconscious and in Kenjaku's possession, while Sukuna's using Megami as his vessel. Gojo thinks back to how things played out in his last life and answers, nah, I'd lose. But don't worry, he's only thinking about how it went the previous time. On the day of the fight, Gojo brings the final finger and casually throws it at Sukuna, like how Goku tossed the Senzu bean at Cell. This shocks the absolute living daylights out of everyone and even catches Sukuna off guard. Sukuna asks why, and Gojo simply says he wants to make things fair, because in his mind, simply having his memories is already too much of an advantage. But nah, Gojo isn't throwing the fight out of stupidity or pride. Another reason he throws the finger is because this is the perfect time to finally deal with the Sukuna problem for good. The fight begins, and at first it plays out much like the original, with Gojo casually toying around, but this Gojo can't be caught off guard. See, the reason he lost originally was because he never anticipated a dismantle that could bypass the world around him, but this Gojo already knows that's a thing. So when Mahoraga adapts and Sukuna fires off a world-cutting slash, Gojo simply reads it with the 6 eyes and dodges it. And since Mahoraga's already been one-shotted at this point, Sukuna now has 0 options left to defeat Gojo using the 10 shadows. That leaves Sukuna completely backed into a corner. With no other options left, he's forced to incarnate and reclaim his original Heian era body for round 2 against Gojo. So how does this actually go? Can a reborn Gojo beat Prime Sukuna? I'll leave that up to you guys. But keep one thing in mind, both of them have already fried their brains, so domain expansion's completely off the table. It'd be a very different fight compared to round 1. Here's how I see it playing out. Even if Gojo loses, Prime Sukuna would be left with less than 10 HP at best. Yuta and the others would then swoop in to finish him off and handle Kenjaku afterward. But if Gojo wins, he handles Kenjaku himself, reforms Jujutsu Society, and leads the next generation for decades. In fact, it goes even further than that. Even when the events of the Modulus sequel happen, Gojo would still be around and still be the strongest. Think about it. Kashimo was active as an old man, and Naobita was moving faster than sound in his 70s. And Gojo's built different from literally everyone. I can easily see him staying active past 100 years old, especially since his cursed energy efficiency and reverse curse technique would keep both his body and brain in perfect condition. That means he could personally deal with the alien conflict himself. And while everyone else they know eventually dies out, Gojo will have Yuji, and Yuji will have Gojo. Oh, and wait, Yuji would have Chozo too in this timeline because there's no reason for him to die in the final battle. I also don't see Todo going anywhere either. Pro's easily living to 100. But what do you think? Is this really how things would play out if Gojo was reborn with all his memories? And how do you think a fight between reborn Gojo and Prime Heian era Sukuna in his original body would actually end?